Azimio, irrespective of having experienced, eloquent, and talented lawyers, these lawyers were told to do something that was near impossible. Dr. Casper here, and welcome to The Political Scientist. Hi there, and welcome to The Political Scientist. This is Dr. Casper, and today I give you my reaction on the recently decided opinion and decision by the Kenya Supreme Court on the election. They have upheld Ruto is president. Today I review the 9 questions by the judges and give my viewpoints on the way forward. Now, the biggest challenge I saw is the fact that there was some biased TV and online videos or one-sided videos. So unless you took time to look at both sides of the arguments, it would have been very hard for you to be able to figure out who was actually winning or who was doing better in this case. Okay, so let's quickly look at the 9 questions, and I'm going to go over the first 7 major questions very quick, and then I'm going to look at the 2 minor questions. 1. Was the technology deployed by the IABC meeting the standards of integrity and security? Personally, I even asserted on live TV that this was one of the best run elections in sub-Saharan Africa.
Now, Casper, you said something very important, that from where you sit, Kenya's election was seen to have been handled in a way that shows that our democracy has come of age. Now, what does this mean in terms of our region, the East Africa community, and the entire continent? How are they viewing Kenya's elections with regards to what Kenya's election means to them and what they need to improve on?
Well, I think this is one of the most important elections that has ever been held in Eastern Africa and Africa as a continent. I think this election has shown that somebody can actually go against an establishment and win in sub-Saharan Africa, in the sense that he was going against a former prime minister, a sitting president who is highly involved in the system, and the Iron Lady. And so he's been able to win is quite significant. And I think we will become a standard. Most of the times Africa looks to Europe and other places to look at the standard of elections. And I think Kenya is starting to become the standard in terms of how elections are held.
And so I thought that was going to be a very simple question, because any election observer saw that this was a very integral, the system was very integral. And that's why there was no complaints. Okay? And even when the 4 commissioners came out, they argued that they ran a good election. So on that point, it was a good election. Now, the biggest problem that people had is this idea of perfection. There is no such thing as a perfect system. The question is, were they able to deal with errors? For example, the Kim's kits that had the same number. We find the IABC was able to prove that they can actually differentiate between kits, not only by their serial numbers, but by other factors. Second question, that was the first question. Was there interference in the uploading and transmission of 34As? Again, there was a big discussion on Jose Carmago and all these things, but those things type of arguments only work in political spaces. The challenge is when the IABC came out, they were just able to show that this is just one document on top of another document and a picture somebody took. And so they were not the same thing. And again, this was disproved, and even the judges said this was an empty wastage of time. Now, the third question, was there a difference between 34As uploaded and those at the tallying center? Again, there was proof that this is a new type of system, and that was virtually impossible. So again, that was thrown out. Whether the postponement of the elections caused a difference, or the voter turnout was affected by postponement. And that was the 4th question. And similarly, the 5th question was whether there were unexplained discrepancies between presidential voting and other positions. Now, the IEBC was very prepared. They did a comparative, data-driven explanation and showed that there was actually no differences and these arguments fell apart. The sixth question, did the IABC follow the Constitution? And that was a simple yes. And did the president get 50 plus 1? Yes, he did. So when you look at all these questions, the 7 major questions, they all panned out that way. Now, on the minor questions, were there irregularities or illegalities of such a magnitude that will have affected the final results? Here's the only place where the main argument came in with Chebukati being a tyrant and affecting the system. But there was a question of why did the security chiefs and the State House chiefs show up? Why did the 4 IABC commissioners leave on the eve? And so all those things were there, and what reliefs could the court give? Now, the issue with the reliefs is when the Supreme Court made a decision, they actually showed some retribution against Azimios, some of the Azimio team members who had brought in some falsified documentation. Now, those were the questions, and those were the answers. What was Azimio's true headache? Here they are. Azimio, irrespective of having experienced, eloquent, and talented lawyers, these lawyers were told to do something that was near impossible. They were being told to find a way to annul a general election without any true facts or substantive facts or proofs. A lot of what they were bringing were hypotheticals. And the burden was on actually the IABC, the respondent, to prove otherwise. So what they did, they used what we call a kitchen sink approach. A kitchen sink approach is where you throw a lot of things at the problem and you hope something sticks. And so this is actually not a very effective method of arguing, right? At a certain point, it was not clear, are they talking about, and the second point of their headache was there was no clear focus because of the approach they used. Were they arguing against the numbers? At one point they were. At one point they're arguing against the process. Against another point they're arguing about Chebukati. What was the argument? What exactly were they doing? And so I feel like maybe they were underprepared, but also I feel like they were being told to do something that was almost impossible, and therefore they had to use the kitchen sink approach. The other headache they had is blockchain technology. You see, Kenya has moved into a new form of technology, the same type that you find in other places like Bitcoin, for example, and digital currency. It's virtually impossible to input or make any changes in the system that system will not record. Therefore, it's impossible to make any arguments arguing that somebody messed up with the election and it doesn't show up in the system. And so, unfortunately, the technology has made it virtually very hard for anybody to claim in the future of Kenya that somebody interfered with the elections. And so when we look at a lot of what was being brought in by Azimio, a lot of their arguments were hypotheticals and theories. They didn't come up with their own evidence that was provable. And so, as we can see, it was hard for them to do anything. The technology was not on their side. There was no evidence. And so I think the Azimio lawyers were given more to do with less. And so I did not foresee the Supreme Court making any other decision. You have to understand, courts make decisions based on evidence, proof, which has to be substantial, and look at that proof and that evidence in light of written law, okay, or the constitutional law. And so there was no threshold that the Supreme Court could have made any other decision, right? Unless Azimio had presented credible, substantial evidence. You have to realize it's not about personal or preferences when it comes to courts. Some people may have preferred Chebukati, some did not. Some preferred his leadership style, some did not. But that's not a legal question. That's a question you deal with in the legislative branch. So in the next election, they can make a rule on how they want the commissioners to work. In my opinion, the commissioners should not go out first to announce who won. They should let the numbers be up there, and then they can come out, and who cares who announces? Let the numbers go before you, so nobody says, hey, this person went before and this. No, let the numbers go before. Before even the people who have won know they won. Let us all know together. And that will remove this idea of who's supposed to announce, who's not supposed to announce, what if a commissioner quits, all that. Just let the numbers speak for themselves. I think that, anyway, that's my opinion. And so this election means a lot to Kenya and its future. And you know, this is a turning point. Whether you are Team Azimio, whether you're Team Kenya Kwanza, this is a turning point in Kenya. I believe it's a coming of age moment. It's a moment where somebody who is not supposed to be the type of person who's supposed to be able to take office, takes office. Can you imagine? And just put this into context. Ruto ran against a sitting president who was highly active. He ran up against a former prime minister. He ran against a former vice president in Kalonzo. He ran against a formidable person in Martha Karua. He went against a whole system. The very fact that he won is a testament to the system. Because if anybody was to take the government, definitely it wouldn't have been him. So I think this is a turning point. I see Kenya going in the right direction. That is my opinion. I think we have moved into new politics and new possibilities. It is in our hands now to determine what the future looks like. So congratulations to President Ruto, and I hope we move forward. But let me talk about the fact that Ruto has to do several things, I believe, in order to move forward, of which I'll talk about in my next video. So if you've loved what you've seen or liked our previous videos, please share this video with 5 of your friends, or one of our videos with at least 5 of your friends. Subscribe, follow, and like, and let's grow the community. This is the Political Scientist, Dr. Casper. Until the next video, goodbye and be blessed.